Hi everyone, and welcome to the Global Biz Apps Weekend 2021, powered by D365 Champs. It's day one today, and again we come close to our sessions for today. And again we start these particular sessions after break, and we hope you are doing well and keeping safe at any from wherever you are from the world. And again, I am Venkat Subbarao Polsetti moderating this session along with Vivek. And this session is presented by Douglas Ramo, and Douglas will be taking about DevOps for Power Platform. A brief introduction about Douglas, he's a senior solution architect focused on business apps and project and portfolio management, and he can be reached out at the Philomine, Denmark, and also he's a Microsoft MVP for 4 times, and he has a vast experience of over 14 plus years of experience on modern workplace and Power Platform expert focused on SharePoint and Power Apps and project for the web development. Before I hand over the session to Douglas, I would like to mention that if you have any queries, please feel free drop it in the chat window. We will take them either during the session if possible or during the Q&A time. Thank you again for joining and enjoy the session. Douglas, over to you.
You. Hello, everyone. Let me share my screen with you. It's a pleasure to be here with you, even far away, because I'm in Brazil right now. Can you guys see my screen already?
Yes, you can see yours.
Perfect. Yeah, okay, so in today's session, we are going to discuss a little bit about DevOps for Power Platform. I would like to bring some ideas and definitely hear from you if you are using it in your daily basis. We have different scenarios and different needs when we are talking about DevOps, and I would like to kind of start introducing a bit of why we should do it or why we should think about it, and then taking baby steps how we can implement these from the basic to the advanced scenarios. Yeah. Just to complement, just a little bit about myself. As you guys already saw, I am from Brazil. This is the only part that it's new for you from the things that you have heard. But basically, I'm focusing on the SharePoint, the modern workplace side of things, and also the dynamic side of things since 2007 from now on. And so I could be able to check all these changes from the solutions between the times during these last years. I'm from Brazil now, but I'm moving to Denmark next year. And then I have this QR code that has more information about myself. So feel free to reach me out in social media. I have a YouTube channel. If you want to learn from like a little bit of Portuguese, that will be awesome. My YouTube channel is in Portuguese right now, but I'm starting creating some more content in English, and then I'm trying to collaborate a little bit more with this community. So it's for me, it's a pleasure to be here with you. Okay, so jump into the agenda. These are the topics that I would like to discuss with you. So what and why implement DevOps, especially for Power Platform, especially regarding the things that we are seeing, the evolution that we are seeing, the digital transformation that we are seeing in the companies the last maybe 2 years. Then we can see a little bit about the development process as it is today, and discussing the different types of development that we have, because we have now the citizen developers, the business guys working and developing solutions, but we also have the pro developers, we have this fusion development in place. So we need to make sure that both are working together, both are collaborating, and we are extracting most of each part of this process. So as it is, how it should be or could be, I would say. And then I would like to show you some tools that we have available today and how we can start, and then do a demo. And then I'll try to kind of draw some of the scenarios here for you guys as well. And yeah, feel free to say something or ask something if you want. Anytime, right? Okay, so what and why implement DevOps? So DevOps it's a way of thinking, it's a culture that we need to implement in our companies so we can make sure that the whole process of the development, not only the way that we are when we are planning the projects that we are developing, but also how can we maintain these? How can we improve the governance? How can we put everything to work together? Not only in a automatic way, but definitely can be like that, and would be good to have these automations in place. But how can we make sure that the whole process of developing solutions, getting them up and running through different environments, through different places, and making sure that all the integrations, all the connections, everything is working as it is or as it should be. So I could keep here like for hours talking about why we should implement, but I think these are the most important topics. Like if we can make sure that the governance is in place, and this is really important today, since we are talking about citizen developers working and developing things by themselves without the IT kind of handling them or helping them. So this is pretty important. How can we make sure that the governance that we have in our company are good? And I can say to you that here in Brazil, we had a lot of issues regarding governance because the people just started to develop things, since we have a lot of videos showing how to do that, and it's quite easy. You guys saw in the last session, we can just start building things, and then suddenly the IT just came up with, okay, what is happening? Why we have so many apps and so many connections, and from where to where the data is coming from and going to. So the governance is pretty great or big point here. How to store code and versioning. So this the versioning of the solutions that we are working, it's something important too, because we need to maintain these solutions. And this is something that usually it's not taken into consideration, because since the people are just developing, they are not considering, okay, how should I store this? It's okay, it's there in the Power Platform environments. I wouldn't need to care about where the code it is, but it's really important to have this in some place with a well documentation there in place. And then automatic distribution through different environments. This is pretty important as well when we are talking about DevOps, because how can we make sure that when we are developing in the dev environment, we can move to test and move to production or move across different environments in an easy way without need to kind of download, open, or uploading again in the next environment, and then do a lot of manual steps to try to make sure that everything is in place. So this automatic distribution is important, and something that I'm seeing a lot is that the people are just developing production since it's easy, and then they don't have this governance of maintaining in different environments, but this is pretty important. And then how can we ensure maintenance and quality? Because since if we have a DevOps process, we can make sure that we have a way to maintain everything that we are developing, and also to put some tests in place, unit tests, automatic unit tests, and also just a process where we move one solution to the test environment, and then from that test environment, someone will take the tests and make sure that everything is running as supposed to. So some of the things that are important to consider when we are implementing DevOps and why we should think about it. Okay, so development process as it is. As it is, since we are talking about low-code technologies, as I said, And since it's so fast or so easy to just start doing things, the development process today, usually it is, okay, let's just start creating apps, start creating flows, and start doing things there, and it's fine. But it's not fine. And I think it's a like personal perspective or personal thought that I have here, that I think this is pretty much what happened back in the days. So if you guys know SharePoint for a while, we had InfoPath, we had SharePoint designer workflows, and they are pretty much the same as we have for Power Apps and Power Automate. And the reason, or the main reason why those technologies become old or they were deprecated, was because they were the idea behind the scenes was Microsoft was giving to the power users, that it's kind of the citizen developer way of saying back in the days, a way for them to develop things without needing to a developer to code something in C# or JavaScript or something like that. So they were just start building things, and the things were kind of easy or simple in the beginning, and then become more complex and more complex, and then maintenance will be hard, and yeah, everything went down. So we don't have anything InfoPath anymore. InfoPath just died. SharePoint designer workflows, it's dying already. It's already deprecated, and will be moved next year to everything to Power Automate. And I know that this is an evolution of technology, but it's also something that we need to take into consideration, because a lot of companies just started building things without this proper thinking, planning, and everything else. And then a lot of them just lost a lot of investments because they had all their businesses on top of these technologies that are the diet now. So we shouldn't start doing things just because it's easy. We should always think about how we can create a process for it, and how we can make sure that this process is in place and it's being handled in a good way. Okay. So development process as it should be. This is some personal thoughts, but also it's something that I'm looking or seeing in the market right now. So some of the topics, not all of them, we don't need to combine all of them, but define environments. We can have multiple environments inside our same tenant. We can have different tenants with different environments, and we can make sure that we have dev, test, production, or dev, quality, production, or whatever. We can have these environments. We can define them and then configure them with the right permissions. Usually, as I can see right now, we have like a lot of companies that they just have the default environment because it's there already. They don't even know, the RT doesn't even know that this default environment is there, and they don't even know that the user could click on a button called Start Trial and start doing things. So this is pretty important. How can we define the environments? We should do it. Create solutions. This is a simple thing that it has been always there, and a lot of people don't use it. They just start building apps from go to make.powerapps.com, create an app, and the app it's just there. Go to flow.microsoft.com, start creating their own flows there without creating these solutions. And this solution is something pretty important to move things across environments. So if they don't do like that, they will have trouble or more work to do when they decided to move forward with this environment or this maintenance in a better way. And then we could define responsibilities, because responsibilities are pretty good if we define them. So what IT should do, what the citizen developer should do, what the pro developer should do, or what they could do with the tools that they have. We have a lot of tools, great tools to work, but We need to make sure that we are using the right way. So who should create those solutions? Should be the IT that it's maintaining that, should be the citizen developers, they are just instructed how to do it, should be the pro developers that will handle everything that the citizen developers will do. So we have a lot of different scenarios that we can put in place. We just need to make sure who is responsible for that. Who should ensure that the application or the solutions that we are building can go through all these environments without just doing everything in production. Who ensure that we are getting everything that we are doing in development and putting in tests, make sure that all the environments are aligned, that we are handling versioning of these packages, what it is in the package 1.0, what it is in package 1.5 that it's in production, what it is in the package 2.0 that it is in dev, and this comparison. So this is good to have, and who should be the responsible for that? Who should validate and ensure quality? Because we are doing a lot of development behind the scenes. We are connecting data. We are passing data through environments. I can have SharePoint, I can have Dataverse, I can have Outlook sending emails and gathering information from Excel files, or connecting to SAP ERP systems, or whatever. We are trafficking or exchanging data through all those systems. How can we make sure that we are not creating a bridge of security there? How do we make sure that the quality of the logic that we are doing there is good? Because since we are putting business users to develop things, we need to make sure that they know how to do and what they are doing, and make sure that this is good enough. So are we using the right connectors to do the things that we need to, or are we putting the right logic there? I can say that many developers, if you guys are developers here, or we have developers here, at least one time in your life, you got a infinite loop, and this could be done by a business user easily. How can we make sure or we validate the quality on that, or this such type of scenarios? So defining responsibilities is something really important. And then we can add, as I said, unit and integration tests, automatically tests, or something that it's manual, just a process. When the solution gets to a point of it puts in the test environment, then someone needs to go there and approve or test and approve this process to go to the next phase or something like that. So we could have the process in place that even though we have the automation behind the scenes, it will go only to production if someone approves it, because we have the tests in place. Some other things that we need to define. If we use managed and unmanaged solutions, this is something important too that I don't see many people discussing of it. Should we use unmanaged only in development, and then in test and production we use managed solutions, since we can block things and make sure that we don't change anything in production directly, just to have everything aligned? This could be a topic to discuss internally in your company if you have this DevOps process. So we can ensure the process to be working. So if we don't have a process, everyone will just start doing things. And for some scenarios, it's okay because it's a simple application, a simple workflow that will help my team or myself with a generic task that I have every day. But sometimes we are talking about enterprise solutions that people are just doing without considering these processes. And then a way to combine what citizen developers do and what pro developers do. And I didn't put IT here, but also the IT, it's important. How we can make sure that everyone is working to the same goal, to make sure that the solution is ready to be used and it's helping the business to run. So this is the main goal for everyone. How we can ensure that all of them are working together on this. So if we have a DevOps process, or if we have this development process in place, we can start building some blocks and make sure that business users and developers and IT are working together with the same goal. Okay. Some other things. We have simple scenarios and we have complex, and we can start from scratch with simple ways to do things and then implement these in baby steps until the complex ones. And we don't have to put a DevOps automation process for everything that we work or in the solutions. We can just have a process, a simple process for some of the things and a complex process for other things. Okay. And what we can use for that, we can use the Power Platform environment. We just need to have a Power Platform environment in place or multiple Power Platform environments in place. And we can use Azure DevOps, or it could be also GitHub. But I'll show in the Azure DevOps just to have the same ecosystem running. So we can integrate with Agile project management structure. So a good way or a good scenario that I will draw here for you is when we could have the Azure DevOps handling the task management. And then by creating a task or by moving a task into a process, it could start creating things for me in the solutions and could start placing things in the right places, and then making sure that the system developers and the product developers just have the right path to work. And this integrated with my project management system. So this could be something really good to implement. Okay, so first of all, important things to consider before I start drawing and showing you. We have to consider the level of automation needed, because as I said, sometimes it's just easy to have a process but not automate this process because it doesn't make sense for some cases. Types of objects that will be handled. What I mean by objects, if you have Dataverse, you have tables, you have connections, you have relationships, you have columns, you have what else? You have a lot of objects there. These objects that I mentioned, you have plugins, you have PCF components, everything like that. If you are using Canvas apps with SharePoint, you have the connection with SharePoint, you have the Canvas apps itself, you might have a flow running behind the scenes. So these kind of objects that I mentioned. So you need to think about which types of objects will be handled by this solution, because then the approach will be different a little bit. Okay. One other thing, types of connections and connectors that is used, just to make sure, because I can say for to be fairly easy, if we use Dataverse, if we use a solution that use Dataverse for everything, for the tables, for the solution, the application, the apps, the workflows, the business process flow, everything will be easy, kind of. If we have Canvas apps with SharePoint, we need to do more stuff to make sure that the connections behind the scenes will work, because one place we are talking about model-driven apps that have everything connected to the environment directly. And the other way, when we have Canvas apps with SharePoint, we need to place the URL of the SharePoint inside the Canvas apps to connect. And then we need to make sure that when we move to the other environments, we are getting everything, getting the lists, getting the connections behind the scenes, changing the app connections, and making sure that this app will be working still after this migration. So the type of connections and connectors used, it's really important when we are considering or defining which type of implementation of DevOps we will have. And then the infrastructure required to have this automation in place. What we should have, we need to have an Azure DevOps pipeline. We need to have some app users, so to speak, or system administrator username and password to kind of run these automations. So we need to have an infrastructure in place. It's not something that we can just start doing. We need to plan. Okay, so these 4 topics is really important topics to consider when we are deciding which approach we will have for that specific solution. Okay, so by using DevOps, and this is the last slide, then we'll go to the practice. When we are using DevOps, we can use the Azure pipelines to do or to run the deployments. And this is pretty good because deployment could be getting a solution from one place and moving to another, and could be creating the whole structure as well. So the pipeline will handle everything related or regarding the deployment part. And we can use two types of pipelines here. We can use YAML files, and I will show a little bit how complex could be using YAML files. YAML files are just templates that you can use, and this is done by code. And so it's a YAML file that you can change this structure. And this YAML file is pretty good because then we can create something really generic, and then we can create kind of some files that will be placed in. If I have a lot of customers and I need to just create a DevOps pipeline for a solution that I will work in a customer, I can just bring these YAML files and the pipelines will be created from there. So kind of templating things. So it's pretty good to use. And we have the classic way that is more visual, that you can just plug and play things and start clicking and configuring. This is the one that I will show the demo, but I will show the YAML files as well so you can see. So we have these two types, and we have a bunch of different toolbox that can be used when we are implementing the pipeline itself, because as I said, it's a process. I will show some of them, some of the scenarios that I've been working, but definitely it will be specifically for your needs, so you can change whatever way you want. So these different toolbox are good to know because some of them haven't or hasn't that much documentation. So it's good to kind of know a little bit at least how to find it, because I will give some links and to explain a little bit. So we have the Sparkle. Sparkle, it's a tool, Sparkle XRM. It's a tool created by an MVP called Scott. It's really good. He made thinking about Dynamics 365 solutions, but we can use for Power Platform since it's the kind of the same. So it's used when we are using a Dataverse sort of solution. We have some solutions from this other MVP called Whale Hamzy. He has done also for Dynamics, but it includes things for Dataverse, so we can use it as well. So we have this toolbox that I will show how to install and how to use in the pipelines, and it's pretty good. Both of them are kind of PowerShell scripts created by these two guys, and I think both of them have a GitHub that we can contribute as well. So I think it's not just them that developed. Some of other community people worked together on this. And then we have one tool that it's made by Microsoft. I would say that it's okay. It's not the goodest one or the best one to use, I would say. It's pretty much the same thing that we have from Whale. We can compare both of them, and I'll show you both of them. But I would say that Whale has it's way more easy to use and fast, and I think it's better. We can also use PowerShell to do things. We can do a script for everything and then change everything, like opening the solution, because the solutions behind the scenes are just a zip file. When you download, it's a zip file with a lot of XML files inside. So we can use PowerShell to run against these files and change things, change version, remove things, because it's a XML file. We can handle it. It's not that good. It will be a hard work to do, but it can be done. And we have also the PCF CLI, that it's a commandlet that the community that did or is doing and Microsoft is handling, where you can change or do things for PCF components. And then we can use this as well. So if we have a PCF component and we need to compile this component and generate the package and then upload this component into a solution, we can use the PCF CLI. And then all these different tools, we can use them together to provide our solution or to fit in our scenario. So we don't have to pick one of them. We can use all of them together and it's fine. Each one working with each scenario that we have or each need that we have. And the complex scenario that I will show you very briefly, we are using pretty much all of them. I think only the PCF that we are not using. All the other stuff we are using together. Because we have data, migrating data between dev, test, and production. We are moving workflows, we are moving apps, we are moving business process flows, and we are moving tables and a lot of things. So we are using each one of them to do one thing specifically. Okay, so this is pretty much what I had to say, the theoretical side. I would like to show some of these, but first I would like to just draw some things with you, just to kind of align the different scenarios. This is the complex one, and I'll take in a minute. So I won't say anything right now about it. But then I would like to just draw some other scenarios that we have. And by the way, I'm using whiteboard to do it. I'm just sharing from my PC, but I'm doing on my iPad here. So it might have a delay. We have one scenario that I would say that it's the simple one. And what could be the simple one? The simple one could be, I have a dev environment, I have a test environment, and I have a production environment. And this could be myself working as a subcontractor, and I have a dev environment that is a trial or is a community Power Platform environment that you can just sign up to have. And then the test and production, it's a customer's environment.
Douglas, are you sharing your screen? Yeah, now we can see.
Yeah, I forgot. I was looking to the right, wrong side. Thank you. Sorry, guys. So the simple one and the complex one is this one. Okay. So the simple one, we are talking about having a dev environment, a test or a production, or we don't even have the test environment because it's a simple one. We just wanted to have dev and production. And here, I'm not talking about having different tenants. Could be only one tenant with two different environments that we create there, and it's fine. You can just define the permissions. As I said, it's kind of just the governance that we need to have in place that we need to define, but it's fine. The way that we decided will work pretty much okay. So here I have a solution, and it's always a solution called demo solution. So everyone that it's in this project specifically that we are working on, we have this demo solution and we will work on this. We will create tables here. We will create apps. We will create flows. And forgive me for the bad drawing. I'm just a programmer, so I'm trying to draw a bit. So we have this demo solution here, and we also have the demo solution here in production. And what we need to do is I need to, once we decided that these changes or development that we are doing, it's okay, it's good enough, we want to move from dev to prod. How we can do it without an automation? We go to, if we are using solutions, because this is pretty important. If we are not using solutions, this can be done. Can be, but you need to download and upload and will be a mess. So here we are talking about solutions, every time having solutions. So we can move from, if we don't have an automation in place, we can go to export solution. This will download a zip file. and we can import, go to the prod environment, go to import solution, and then we can upload this file there and will be upgraded. Okay, this is one way to do. It's a simple way. We don't have to automate things. We just have to have a process, as I said. But if we wanted to have the simple process a bit automated, what we can do, or what else we could have in here to help. So we could have an Azure DevOps pipeline that once someone clicks in a button to release, to run a release pipeline, just to run, click to run, we'll get every time the demo solution from here, export, and then import to here. This is pretty easy. It's the demo that I will do. We can automate things, and this is a pretty manual step that we can do by a pipeline. Pretty easy, and it's good because we could automatically connect this to a task in the Azure DevOps boards, and then we know that this has been deployed. And we can also start building things from this. So what else? What if we want to get this simple solution a little bit more connected or complex? We could just basically start doing some scripts in here, and then not only exporting, importing, but we could start checking versions. So if I have version 1.0.0, when we move to production, I want to first move to 1.0.0.1 and then move, and then we can start building scripts on it. So we can start adding PowerShell scripts here. So we can use PowerShell to manage versions, for example. We could have a simple unit test running just to make sure that before moving to production, we validate some stuff. We can have one other thing that since we have pipelines, we could have a place or a approval process flow here inside DevOps that only goes to production if someone approves. So we can, as I said, baby steps. We just started moving solution from one place to the other. We start putting PowerShell script to manage versioning. We start putting unit tests. We start putting workflows. We start putting a way to move data. That it's another thing. We wanted to have PCF components. We have another way. We wanted to have web resources. So you can have a JavaScript file or a TypeScript that it will be bundled in a JavaScript file, and then we want to move this file to production later on. We can add that, and then we can start moving our solution to be simple, from simple to complex. Okay, so I will show you how to do the simple one. Let me open the browser in here. Okay, so I have Azure DevOps. I will just give a little bit of more zoom. I just have this Power Platform DevOps in here. I will use a pretty basic pipeline that we can create. I will create one from scratch. But one thing that it's good for you guys to understand, we have this link here that I will provide you later on the presentation, that we have this documentation from Microsoft that you can go to this ALM for developers, and we have the Microsoft Power Platform build tools tasks. Those tasks are the ones that we can use inside our pipelines. And I have also the Whale repository that I will show you or share with you, but we can install these Power DevOps tools. You can search for it inside your Azure DevOps, and you can get it as it's free. It's fine, and it's pretty good. There is a great documentation as well, so you can use it. These are all the actions that we have. So we can export configuration, migration data. We can get an environment variable. We can update configuration records. We can delete an instance. We can apply a solution upgrade. We can create a patch, create a solution. So we can even create a solution from here using those tests. So we have a lot of tests that can be used, and it's really good. Okay, so these two things, the Power App, the Power DevOps tools, and the tasks that Microsoft provides are the, I would say, the first steps that you need to understand and need to try out. Okay, so we will try out both. Okay, I will create one pipeline from scratch, and then I will run one of the pipelines that I have. Sometimes takes a while. I must say for you that sometimes exporting and importing solution, depending on how many objects we have inside the solutions, could be tough, could take a while. So you need to plan in a good way these solutions that you have. But let's create a new pipeline. So I will create a new pipeline from here. I have, as I said, the YAML way to do things. It's a script kind of thing, but I can also use the classic editor. And I use the classic editor just because we can. We have a repository. I have a repository that doesn't have anything, but we could use this repository later on to store our files, just to make sure that, as I said in the beginning, if you want to manage the files, the versioning of the files, we could store these files in here because Azure DevOps has this code management system. So we could potentially, when we move to dev to production, even though it's a simple solution, we wanted to store that version that in 20th of November 2021, we moved the solution version 1.0.0 to production. And then a week later, we moved the solution version 1.0.0.1 to production. Because if we wanted to kind of move back or decided to downgrade the solution, we have the files. We can just put it there and it's fine. It would be easy to have this kind of process in place as well. Okay, so I'll click to continue, and then I can start with an empty job, and then I will add some things here. Okay, so if I search here, you will see the icon for the Power DevOps tools. We have a bunch of them. If you type solution, we have a bunch of them as well. It will be easier to find out. So these two are the two solutions that I said to you guys. So we have Power Platform something. So it's the default Power Apps icon. This is from Microsoft, and this other one is from Whale. And we have a bunch of features here. I could use the create solution to create a solution for me. I could use the export solution to export a solution from one place and generate the zip file. And then I can use the import solution to get the zip file and upload into another place. So this is what we will do in a second. So we use this export import. But first, one thing that we need to use is we need to kind of make sure that this solution is in place. So we have to, for both, we need to use one thing first that I don't remember the name. Always I need to find, I think it's Power. Let me search here. All right, I can just open the other one that I did. So we have this Power DevOps tools installer for both, and we need to install them before start doing things. Let me just search for it. I can add. I don't need to configure anything. It's just to get the package from NuGet and make sure that it's installed to be running. And then afterwards, I just wanted to proceed with this scenario. Export from dev. I have a solution with a name already. It's not something dynamic. It's something fixed. We can always be dynamic if we want to. It's getting more complex if we do it like that. So I can get this import solution. Export solution first. So we are going to export the solution from the dev environment, and then import them into production. So, and then we have different ways to do things here. I will put both side by side just so you can see. So I'll install this, and then I'll do the same action, export. Okay, so if I compare the export solution from Whale and from Microsoft, we have different ways to handle it, but both of them we can run through service accounts instead of username and password, especially because if it's a username and password, we don't support, or these solutions don't support MFA. So if you have MFA configured, it won't work. So, and having service accounts to do this, it's really important. It's good, it's something healthy, because you make sure that it's not running through Douglas account. It's just an app ID that has specific permissions that we give to them. Okay, so this service account, how it's handled. We can create this service account or this app registration inside the Azure. So I don't know if everyone knows, but every time that we create an Office 365 tenant, we create together this Azure environment just because the Office 365 runs on top of Azure. And then we can register app there and give permissions to this app. And we don't have to have any subscription on it. We don't have to pay anything for it. We can just register an app and make sure that this app has the right permissions against the Dataverse or against the Dynamics side of things where everything is running against the Power Platform. So sorry for being Portuguese, this thing, but I'm basically, I'm opening the app registration. I have an app here that I registered with an ID. I have a secret for it. So I'm using app ID and secret to do it, to run it. And I have some permissions that I gave. And the permission that I need to do is this dynamic CRM. I know that it's weird because it's dynamic CRM and we are not talking about dynamic CRM, but it's just the way it is. Microsoft is just using the same connector behind the scenes that was created for Dynamics 365, but now it's used for Dataverse and other things. So if you wanted to add the permission, you just go here, click into Dynamics, select this user impersonation. And this is the permission that you need to do in both environments, in the dev environment, in production environment, create one app for each one, or create one app and give permission to this app in these two environments. You need to decide that, but this is something that you need to take into consideration. And then we will use this service account to run. So we can create service connections in here, the Azure. So you can use these service connections to run things. So if I'm using Whale's solution, I need to put a connection string here. I will paste one so you can see, but it's basically getting which type of connection, if it is client secret or not. It's this one here. So I have the URL of my environment. I have the client ID that I mentioned that we created in Azure, and I have a client secret. And definitely, it doesn't have to be like that. I just put it client ID and secret here, but we can use the key vault, the variables here, the options that hide these values from the user, so the user doesn't have access to it. And then we can use both of them, and then we just configure if it is managed or unmanaged that we are exporting. We are exporting a solution as unmanaged, or it means that will be opened to be changed in the production environment, or we will export as managed solution, and this managed solution will be closed. We can't change anything afterwards. And then we configure where this solution or this deployment will be, this zip file will be placed or downloaded, and some other configurations that we can use. And then afterwards, we can have this import solution. So both Whale and Microsoft's solution in this export solution will provide a zip file for us. And the import solution, it's pretty much getting this zip file and then moving to a place that we are telling. So the connection string here is the target one. So in the export, we have the source. Here we have the target. And we can say if it will convert to manage when we are uploading. We can say if it will override the solution that it's already there or not. We can have some configurations that we can do. And this is pretty much it. To have this solution in place, to move one solution from the other, we just need to have 3 actions. I just put all of them here because we have these 2 ways to do, but it could be just 3 of them. Just pick if you want to use Whale or Microsoft's. Okay, so I have already a solution with a pipeline with that configured. I just disabled these 3 ones just to not run 2 times. And then one important thing, as I mentioned, I have a solution name here that it's fixed. So I have the demo solution that we draw here. If you want to have dynamic in a dynamic way, we can do it. It's just more complex, but it's fine to do. Okay, so if I run this, what it should do, I have this demo solution here. I just have a table. This table, it's already there in production, so I will just create another table. So I would say test 2.
A quick
Yeah.
time check.
Sorry, what?
A quick time check of 12 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, perfect. I'll try to rush. Yeah, we have this second table that will be displayed in here in a second. Yeah, and then I can just run this pipeline. And this pipeline will basically get the solution from one place and then save it or import in the other one. So while it's running, I'll just wanted to share this complex scenario. So the complex scenario could be something like we have the Azure board for the tasks. The task management is there. Every time that a developer or a citizen developer needs to create something based on a requirement that is in the task management side of things, we create a solution for it. So we don't mess with one solution, the demo solution that I mentioned. It's not everyone working in the demo solution. We have a demo solution that it's fixed, it's managed, it can be changed by in a manual step, but we create different solutions for each user. So I can say that I need to work in a specific task. It creates for me a solution. I work inside this solution, and then so citizen developers and pro developers can work together in many different branches and different solutions with things connected because we are in the same environment. So I can see your table, you can see my tables, we can work together, but in different solutions, one solution per task. And when we decided this is okay, it's finished, I finished my work, I can merge this and make sure that my tasks or my branches, my solutions and your solutions are merged in the same solution. And then we can export this solution merged to a place, import into a solution, and then download a managed version of it, already combining our work. And after that, or once someone decided this is ready to be released, we can merge to a branch, and then this branch will export a managed solution, increase the version number, and we can have a button to click into deploy. And this will, we can pick the target environment that we want to deploy and just deploy it. So this is a process that we have. It looks like simple, but behind the scenes, it's way more complex because this is connecting to the tasks, has approval process, and we have everything in code. So we have these YAML files here. So this is a solution that I have, that we have templating for everything. And we kind of create a solution where if we want to just get these and implement in different customers, we can just download these files, upload these files in the Azure DevOps of this customer, run, and everything will work. So it's a pretty easy way to implement afterwards. And then the pipeline is running here. But yeah, definitely this is something that will be okay. It will export the file and import the file again into the test environment or production environment. So we have different scenarios. We can just fit or developing the way that fits for your need specifically. So we can have basic stuff as I did. We can have complex stuff as I just showed it. You just need to define and prepare to have these governance and everything in place. So the good thing is plan everything. Start looking at these different templates and different tools that you have, and then start building it or implementing this as baby steps. Is fine. It just needs to be done. It doesn't matter if you start small and then grow over time. It's fine, but you need to think of it. This is pretty important, not for today, but for 6 months ahead, one year ahead. So this is pretty important to start looking today. Yeah, so these slides, I'll share some more links. So I don't know if someone has questions. I know that
Yes.
It hasn't been done, but yeah.
Yeah, Douglas. There was a question from Marcius.
Yeah.
What could not be so easy in this kind of situation or moving solution using the automation step or data value or the automation code? I think he is referring to. I think he is referring when exporting the solutions from one environment to another environment, manual or automation.
Yeah.
Data value.
Yeah, manual. It's kind of importing, exporting, but you don't have the process in a good governance way. So it's easy as well to import and export manually, but it doesn't have that governance that should be or should have. And when we are exporting and importing by automation, the only thing that you need to consider is this data volume or not the objects that are inside the solutions, because if we have a big solution with a lot of objects, it will take forever to deploy. So we just need to consider if we wanted to move the whole solution, we can split up in different solutions, one specific for each type of object. For example, we can have one for apps, one for flows, one for tables, and this such thing. Since the target is the same, doesn't matter if we have separated solutions. So it could be a solution for it.
There is another question from Chahat. What are the best practices for export and import? And should not import be done as a part of create release?
Yeah, it could be as well, but it depends how many objects you want to create. If you want to create a build pipeline and a release pipeline, or if you just wanted to create one that does everything. I have all the scenarios. I have both. For the complex one, we have build pipelines and also release pipelines to do the release part. But if it's a simple one, for me, it doesn't make sense to just do one. To have one build pipeline that just export and one pipeline and then one release pipeline just to import, I don't think that it's worth it. So it depends on your scenario. But related to best practice when exporting import, I think that the most important thing is related to managed and unmanaged, because you need to decide where you want to put the unmanaged solution. And I would say that unmanaged solution, it's only in one place, and usually the complex solution that we gave was the user don't have access to the final solution. We have every time a solution for him to work. So I have a feature branch solution for him to work. And afterwards, when I put it to the demo solution, it's managed already. So no one has access to the final solution, to be honest. Everything is handled by that. So I think the most important thing is decide where the unmanaged solution, the open solution will be. The rest, it's pretty much when we are releasing, it's fine to just have a managed solution and should be fine. I hope that have just replied to you. Yeah.
And there are no more questions. So if anyone have any other queries, right, I have shared the social links of Douglas. You can reach out to him. And yeah, so thank you so much for joining, everyone. We really appreciate your presence, and we hope that you are taking away some powerful learnings from this session. And special thanks to Douglas for an amazing session on DevOps for Power Platform. And you have shared your knowledge with us based upon your expertise and all. And yes, there are main important points that needs to be considered whenever we are moving solutions from one environment to another environment. Yeah, it looks simple, and if they have few environments, but in the long run, it is very much needed. Otherwise, always there will be delays in the deployments and as well as the release management also.
Yeah, definitely. And also we need to have confidence of what we are delivering. So this could be really important in the long run. Yeah, and thank you so much for you guys having me. It's really good to have this such integration with you, even though we are far away. So yeah, feel free to reach me out in the social media. I would like to get more in touch with you guys. Would be awesome to discuss different scenarios from different places.
Sure, of course. Thank you, Douglas.